Good day, everyone. Today I am discussing the table tennis game, the history of the game, the equipment and facilities, and the basic rule. Table tennis, also called or trademark ping pong. Ball game is similar in principle to lawn tennis and played on a flat table divided into two equal courts by a net fixed across its width and the middle. The object is to hit the ball so that it goes over the net and bounces on the opponent's half of the table in such a way that the opponent cannot reach it or return it correctly. The length weight hollow ball is propelled back and forth across the net by small rackets or bats or paddles held by the players. The game is popular all over the world. In most countries, it is very highly organized as a competitive sport, especially in Europe and Asia, particularly in China and Japan. History of the table tennis. This game was invented in England in the early days of the 20th century and was originally called ping pong, a trade name. The name table tennis was adopted in 1921 to 22, when the old Ping Pong Association formed in 1902 was revived. The original association had broken up about 1905, though apparently the game continued to be played in parts of England, outside London, and by the 1920s was being played in many countries. Led by representatives of Germany, Hungary, and England, the Federation Internationale de Tennis de Table, or International Table Tennis Federation, was founded in 1926, the founding members being England, Sweden, Hungary, India, Denmark, Germany, and Czechoslovakia, Austria, and Wales. By the middle 1990s, more than 165 nation associations were members. The first World Championships were held in London in 1926, and from then until 1939, the game was dominated by players from Central Europe, the men's team event being won 9 times by Hungary and twice by Czechoslovakia. In the middle 1950s, Asia emerged as a breeding ground of champions, and from that time, the men's team event has been won by either Japan or China, as has the women's event, though to a lesser extent, North Korea also became an international force. In 1980, the first World Cup was held, and Gui Yuhua of China won the $12,500 first prize. Table tennis became an Olympic sport in 1988 with singles and doubles competition for men and women. Rules of table tennis: the orders of serving, receiving, and end. In doubles, at each change of service, the previous receiver shall become the server and the partner of the previous server shall become the receiver. The player or pair serving first in the game shall receive first in the next game of the match, and in the last possible game of a doubles match, the pair due to receive next shall change their order of receiving when first one pair scores 5 points. The players or pairs starting at one end in a game shall start at the other end in the next game of the match, and in the last possible game of a match, the player or pairs shall change end when first one players or pair scores 5 points. A point. Unless the rally is a let, a player shall score a point. If an opponent fails to make a correct service, if an opponent fails to make a correct return, If, after he has made a service or a return, the ball touches anything other than the net assembly before being struck by an opponent. If the ball passes over his court or beyond his end line without touching his court after being struck by an opponent. If an opponent obstructs the ball, and if an opponent deliberately strikes the ball twice in succession. The equipment and facility in table tennis. First is table. The ping pong tables should have a rectangular surface with 152.5 cm in width and 274 cm in length. It should be supported to ensure that its upper surface, also known as the playing surface, would lie in a horizontal plane of about 76 cm above the floor. The playing surface has to be matte and dark colored with a white line of about 2 cm wide along the edges. The lines that are along the 274 cm sides or edges would be known as side lines. In the case of doubles, the playing surface would be broken into halves through the aid of a white line, which is 3 mm wide, as the side lines would be called the center line. Next is ball. The ball has to have a spherical shape with a diameter of about 40 mm. The ball should also weigh 2.7 grams. The ball shall be made of similar plastic material or celluloid and shall be orange or white and matte. Next is the net. Light is in texture and stretched across center of table and attached to the outside by the vertical standards. Net should be from 6 to 6 or 2 3/4 inches above the table. Next is racket. The racket can have any shape, size, or even weight, but the blade has to be rigid and flat. A minimum of 85% of the table of the blade shall have natural wood in its thickness, and adhesive layer inside of the module could be supported by fibrous materials such as glass fiber, carbon fiber, or even compressed paper, although it should not exceed 7.5% of the total thickness, whichever one is smaller. The side of the blade designed for hitting the ball would be covered with either ordinary pimpled rubber or pimples outward, thereby giving them a thickness of not more than 2 mm. The covering material used on each side of the blade shall be matte, black on one side and any other approved color on the other side. In the play, if a player strikes the ball using a side of the blade that does not have a surface which is complies with the requirements as stated by the rules, then his opponent shall be offered a point. And here's table tennis, table dimension and measurements. And that's all. Thank you.